So our 1969 Dodge Charger RT SE is almost finished and ready for the grand reveal. This is a stunning example of what the Dodge Charger second generation was all about. Sleek, fast, sexy, standard 440 Magnum, Hemi 4-speed transmission, 354 Dana 60 rear axle assembly. Absolutely the epitome of that era of car. So when the Charger came to us, it was a good, complete car. In fact, it looked like a car. It looked like it would run and drive, but it wouldn't. It had some engine problems internally in it. Now, that car was treated just like all of them. First thing we do is inventory the car, make sure all the parts that are there, and they were for the most part. I think the original carburetor and distributor were gone, but everything else was there. Disassemble the car, bag, inventory, document, photograph. We did all that. After that, we were able to get the car ready to go off to the dipper, which we did. We got it off fairly quickly. When it came back, there was a lot more damage underneath that paint and underneath that filler than I expected. Now, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't the worst car by any means. It did end up needing a lot more attention in the metal shop than I believed it was going to when I first looked at the car. Okay, so just a quick inventory of what we had to do on the body. The rear body panel, tail light panel had to be replaced. Rear valance corners. The trunk floor needed replaced along with both extensions, or drop-offs they call them. Both quarters got replaced on the car. That was the extent of the metal replacement. I do think we ended up doing the main floor in it too. The doors and the fender and the hood and the deck lid, they were actually in pretty good shape, so we were able to just straighten those. They didn't need to be replaced, so those are the original panels that came off of that car. So replacing the metal, repairing the stuff that was on there, it went through the metal shop reasonably quickly. After all the metal is welded on, all they do is hang fenders and the doors, probably for the 10th time, hood, deck lid, square all that sheet metal up. When that's done and you can walk around the car and you've got even gaps, at that point, we were able to kick it over to the mudroom so they could get it smoothed out and ready for Will.
Michael did the body work on our Charger. It's a T7 bronze. We haven't done that yet. It's a gorgeous color. Michael's really honed in his skills and does a very good job for us. So when the car comes to us, at that point, we're able to kind of fine tune it, get it primered. Once it's been primered, it'll go out in the tent outside, sit there for a couple of weeks to fully cure. Then we'll bring it back inside and we'll start attacking it with like 320, 400, and then after that we'll finish it off in 600 because with the super fine metallic, you gotta make sure you have no sand scratches. And the car blocked out great. So we'll finish it off at 600, and at that point, I'll send Brody or Noah outside to get it washed, get it all detailed out so it'll go in the booth, dry, then we can mask it up and paint it. The paint job on it came out beautiful, like always. Mark always tries to take the credit because he did the pre-paint on it. This is one that he kind of followed through the shop on weekends, which actually was really nice, but because this pre-paint was great, my paint was great, I guess. But at this point, I'll kick it off to Noah, do the cut and buff on it, get it washed, back in the booth, then we can undercoat it and get it over to Justin for assembly.
When we got the drivetrain out, overall it was pretty decent and complete. We sent the transmission out to Brewers and had them go through it, and I took care of the engine, rear axle, and front and rear suspension. For the most part, it was a straightforward build-out. The only real problem was what we saw when we took the heads off. Mark and I talked about this at the time. Not exactly sure what caused the rod to break, probably over-revving like the owner said, but it was definitely broken. We were able to save the cylinder and the crankshaft. The owner actually wanted the heavy-duty 6-pack rods installed, which was fine since we needed a rod anyway. Once it was back from the machine shop, I was able to put it all back together. Being it was a 69 440 Magnum, I've done quite a few of them since I've been here. I know the parts it needs very well. Installing the correct detail items is what makes these things come to life. Replica hoses and belts, correct date-coded parts like spark plug wires and coil. Mark found a correct date-coded carburetor from Tony. We sent it out to Scott Smith for rebuild. Overall, everything from air cleaner to oil pan came out great.
So really all that catch-up just brings us to where we are now. The car is almost finished, like I had mentioned. The exhaust system still needs to go into it. I think there's some assembly line markings that may need to be done on it and final QC. But for the most part, we're at a point where this car is done and ready for the reveal. We're very close. We're hoping to do that in the next several weeks.
This car is pretty much my baby ever since it came over from paint. I'm the main assembly tech here, so bolting them together is my job. And it's also the best job in the shop. I install the taillights, rear bumper, taillight trim, backup lamps, door handles and lock cylinders, outside mirrors, interior trim panels, carpet, seats and console, dash assemblies, all the glass and the mechanisms, exterior trim and all the ornamentation, header panel and headlamp assemblies, front bumper, front valance and park lamps. Overall, everything that goes on this car after the drivetrain is installed is up to me. Like with most builds, the most fun thing to put on these cars are the decals if they get it. In this case, the car was coated for a bumblebee stripe, which Mark and I installed that. Once that was done, we had to wait for the ECS exhaust system to show up, and that's where we're at now. When installing the exhaust systems, the first thing I install are the head pipes, and I leave those loose. After that, I install the mufflers and the hangers. So basically, I move my way from the front of the car to the back, and I leave everything loose until I have the full alignment. After I have the mufflers and hangers on, I can install the over-axle pipes. And it's really important to get the correct alignment for the tips. Another reason to leave them loose is the tips clamp to the tailpipe, and they have to align perfectly with the rear valance. For example, if the over-axle pipe or the tailpipe are not in their precise location, then you can't get the right alignment on the tips. The other thing you have to be careful of is dinging the pipe or scratching the car somewhere. Everything is metal, so if you get crazy slinging that pipe around, you'll create a lot more work for somebody else. If you just take your time and think everything out, it's just a one-person job.
When the entire system is installed, they start tightening it from the very front and working their way to the back. That's the way it's done. The last thing to tighten down, of course, is the tips. This car is coded for that. That's N42. All of your 440 Magnums are going to get an N41 dual exhaust, but they don't all get the N42 bright tips. That's an option. You pay extra for that. If it was a California car and a Mission car, it wouldn't have tips on it. They'd be turndowns. This particular car is an N42, so it's going to look really sweet back there with that chrome rear bumper, the little bezels on the backup lights, just enough chrome for it all to tie together.
There's nothing finer than the bottom of a car done right. I just love the final look.
All right, with the exhaust system installed and sounding beautiful, this thing is ready for me to call the owner. I am so excited. Like I said, first reveal in 2 years. Guy's coming out from Minnesota. He's been really, really patient with me. But he's a nice guy. He's just out of patience. So I know he's going to be thrilled to find out his car is done. They're actually got the car right now down at the old mill where we lease the area to keep the cars dry now. And they're doing their final glamour shots of it. And a couple of them came through. Show those right there. Absolutely gorgeous. That car looks amazing, and it's going to be the best reveal we've had in many, many years.
Like I mentioned earlier, I didn't get a chance to be part of any of the reveals, but I think my favorite one that I saw on the show was the Coronet RT for Mr. Torino. It was a gorgeous car and ultra rare. I didn't do a ton of work on the car, but I did help on some of the assembly. I know that Brett could and has bought almost every collectible Mopar under the sun. So for him to smile the way he did on the reveal really made me proud.
This is why I don't like reveals. You know, Doug's story is very heartwarming, of course, but just go back to the beginning.
All right, are you guys ready?
We're ready.
Then I'm gonna have the display lights come on, okay, Jeffrey? Okay, 3, 2, 1. What the?
If she thinks for a second that she's going to beat me out of that reveal, take my glory, steal the thunder, it ain't going to happen.
You know, you got Mark consistently making it about him.
Yeah, I thought I was going to miss this.
You know, you lose the sentiment value and all of it, and I'm not a fan of reveals.
One of my all-time favorite reveals here was Kimberly Cook's 1970 Barracuda. It was really incredible and raw. She actually cried tears of joy. I really connected with Kimberly Cook's reveal for her car. And you can connect with it so well because she lost her father and I lost my father-in-law, and him and I, we watched the show together every single week. And that really hit home for me.
Unbelievable.
Thank you. You know, look at Kimberly Cook's beautiful car. He takes a great moment, like, hey, here's the original steering wheel that your dad used, which is sentimental and amazing, but then he also makes it about him also. So again, I'm just not a fan of these reveals because it's always about Mark.
Well, I hope Will's happy. Just received a telephone call. Went up, grabbed it, shouldn't have. It was a little tiny dancer.
Mark wants me to work with some of his clients and be his communicator. So, I'm communicating.
Told you they're down there doing glamour shots. Told you that, right? Down there doing glamour shots to the car. Asked how it looks. Tiny says he loves it. Who's he? The customer. How is the customer down there looking at my car? Here's what I don't understand about any of it. Everybody knows I was building up for a reveal. I shouldn't get this phone call. When he called Jeffrey and said, hey, because Jeffrey's been doing a lot of our communicating, so he has that open door to our customers, and Jeffrey says, come on down. I mean, I gotta wonder what's wrong with the little tiny dancer.
Hey man, I'm just doing my job.
Why Tiny gotta stab me in the back, man? Trying to upstage me. Whatever, man. You're 5 foot nothing, 100 and nothing. Get over it.
I'm 5'6". That's average height. Well, for a woman.
You know, there's a lot of planning goes into revealing a car. Coordinating with everybody, making sure the set's all done up, running through it 10 or 15 times, making sure there's no embarrassing moments.
I've got 3 little nuts here to put it on with and a ratchet.
Well, that's ruined now.
Bruggerman was an awesome reveal. This couldn't have worked out any better. Car looks amazing. Bruggerman calls Jeffrey and says, hey, I'm here. And Jeffrey, not knowing the difference, because he's just Jeffrey, he just walks Bruggerman right to the car. Says, here you go. So there was no big, hey, come be surprised. It was before you know it, he's there looking his car over and it was done and over with. Thank you, Jeffrey.
Oh, yeah. Open the hood. Open the hood. That's great. Look around. Yeah. Crawl up Mark's butt with a flashlight. This is great. Yeah. Go around. Check in the trunk. Open that door. Have a seat. Make yourself at home. Hope you're enjoying it. Okay? I hope you guys are enjoying the most boring reveal in Graveyard Cars history. Beautiful car. Great job. Nice guy. Boring reveal. Ooh, it's selfie time. Look, everybody, I'm getting a picture of me next to my car. Who are you and where are you from?
Patrick Bruggerman, Crookston, Minnesota. That's like 130 miles from the Canadian border, 35 miles from the North Dakota border. So we're way up there in the corner.
After Pat took the big Cleveland steamer on my beautiful reveal I had planned, he wanted to bring the car back to the shop and go over it with me.
And standing here alongside me is a couple good friends, Arlen and Hugh.
My name is Larry. This is my brother Daryl, my other brother Daryl. Newhart Show.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sure, Dan.
I found the car in an ad way out in Lawton, North Dakota was the place. It was back in 76 or 77. I decided that I wanted to drive out there. I wanted another 4-speed car because my kid brother wrecked my 69 Roadrunner. And so I found this car and I thought, okay, we're gonna go look at it. So we went up there and it was belonged to a school teacher. I cannot remember her name. But the car was purchased for her by her father when she graduated from teaching school. I bought it for $900 originally. And then the car was with us for many years until my wife and I started raising a family, built a new house, family took over. I had to sell the car. And I was never the same after that. It hurt so bad. So finally, I kept after the guy and I kept after the guy, and I wound up getting it back, and I swore it'll never leave again, and it won't. And now she's so beautiful. It's just unreal.
Okay, all kidding aside, I don't want anybody getting mad at me for having some fun here. Pat is a wonderful guy. He's got a heart of gold. All right? Everything's in good spirits. He is very, very happy with his car. It came out absolutely gorgeous, and he's proud to tell people that Graveyard Cars did his car for him.
Oh, I think it's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, it's just beautiful to shine on. It looks better than it probably ever has in its life. I'm going to be very proud of it. There's a lot of people back home are waiting for this car to come home.
You know what? I just like to have fun with my clients. That's all. Keep the mood light. There's a lot of tension, a lot of money flying around, so that's all it is. And when it comes to the reveal, I'm disappointed because I did have something pretty cool planned, but it really wasn't about me. It's about the car, it's about the client. It's about memories that this car will be making for years to come.
Phantom Cuda?
We're gonna go on 1, 5, 4, 3, 2,
Hey everybody,
what is it?
lunch is ready.
That's lunch.
That's lunch.
Go. Sorry guys, I don't miss no grub, man.
We're gonna do it after
That's lunch. So we had a new drive shaft made for this.
Okay.
I like doing that. It's a replica of the original one, except that it's brand new steel. It's not pitted up. It's originally they were a natural metal finish. That's why they're so rusted and pitted. They had no treatment on them. You know, it was nice to be able to walk around the bottom side of the car with Pat and show him our labor of love.
That was one thing that back in the days when I drove it, it would always pull one way or the other.
Oh, drums
you'd
were
get in, You'd get in there,
notorious
you would
for it.
adjust them a little bit, and it, you know,
Yep.
you were always playing with it.
Yep.
So I think that was a very good move, just for drivability.
And they really work a lot nicer. There is a more stoppability to them. So
Right.
I noticed when I was driving back, I thought, boy, the power disc brakes is a nice feel for the foot. It's a nice feel in the pedal, and it really does stop the car. So we were way behind on the car, like we are everybody's cars right now, and I appreciate everybody's indulgence and understanding. But oftentimes when that's the case, I'll go the extra mile. On his car, I did the same thing. A lot of little things that really, like converting it to power disc brakes when it was an original drum brake car, replacing something instead of trying to repair it, or living with some pitted up control arms. We found the best suspension pieces, the best axle housings, the best everything for this car. Oh, we modified your radio, our friends over at Instrument Specialties.
Oh, okay.
That is converted to AM, FM, and Bluetooth. Now it's way past my pay grade, probably be past your pay grade on figuring out how to do it, because it appears like a stock radio.
Okay.
But it's how many clicks you move it,
Oh.
make it go AM, or double click, it goes FM. Same log, same everything, just looks like an AM radio, but you have all the functionality.
That is cool.
It is cool. Those are my little contributions, so when you get the car home, and yeah, we're behind on it, it took too long, you're so in love with the car and you realize it probably was worth the wait.
No, it's a very nice car. Very, very, very well put back together.
Yep.
Like he's driving a brand new version of what he originally had.
No, we couldn't be happier. I think it's absolutely beautiful. These guys both agree. You know, it's been a little bit of a wait. Mark knows how impatient I can be, and I tried to throttle myself as much as possible.
Oh yeah, Pat throttled himself on a Saturday night at 11 o'clock when I got his text about how his wife had had some kind of surgery, and if anything happened to her before that car got back, we were gonna have trouble. That's a threat, Your Honor. The beautiful part, I hardly slept at all. I wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning to a text. It's a picture of him out on a boat, fishing with, I presume, his wife. I thought she was in the hospital. You know, I lost a whole night's sleep because of you. Apparently moonshine's a hell of a drug. You know, Rick James, crazy, man. I never drank no moonshine. Does it make you bipolar? Yeah, Tiny shaking his head. You're dead to me, Tiny. So you can just...
But everything turned out perfect. I couldn't be happier. It is so well worth the wait. I'm just, I'm beside myself. It's just beautiful. Really happy with it.
Hey everybody, Will Scott, #1 painter here from Graveyard Cars. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you go in, like it, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Now I'm gonna get back to painting.